A political decision to reverse Brexit would have a significant positive impact on the UK economy, according to the global think tank, the OECD. A report they published today warned that a no-deal Brexit could wipe £40 billion of UK economic growth by 2019.
The OECD is urging the UK to stay as close to the European Union as possible after it leaves, though buried at the bottom of their report was a line conceding the outcome could prove more favourable than assumed.
Today, in an interview with the BBC, the think tank's Secretary-General, Angel Gurria, defended his organisation's bold and some would say controversial suggestion that the UK would be better off if Brexit was dropped.
That particular statement was made in the context of a little box saying what were the kind of the extreme scenarios. This is not our central scenario, okay? Just to make it very clear. Number two, think about the consistency of the statement. We have been saying we believe there's going to be a cost. Therefore, not having it would involve that perhaps you do not incur in the cost.
Let's get the view of Anand Menon, Director of UK and a Changing Europe, who is in our Westminster studio for us. I encourage, Anand, people to text in and tweet in about what we're talking about. So I'm going to read you one from Matthew. He says, funded by the EU, the OECD that is, to the tune of £23 million per annum, the OECD are biased. Of course, they want the status quo. And that's really the point, isn't it? It's not going to do anything to unite Remainers and Brexiteers.
No, and I was quite surprised they used that language, to be honest. But I mean, as we just heard, this claim is in a tiny little box, which is a tiny little part of the report. Another part of that box says things would look bad if Scotland voted to leave the UK. So these were a lot of worst case scenarios. But nevertheless, it is slightly strange that they chose to put this in there, and slightly naive, I'd say, politically, not to realise it would cause something of a backlash.
But politically, of course, it is important that it adds some pressure to Theresa May and also the case they're trying to build for no deal, if only to give themselves some leverage in the Brexit negotiation.
Yeah, it's important. I don't think there's anything shocking about this report. And bear in mind that their projections are based on an outcome that no one wants. And that's the outcome whereby we leave in March 2019 and we revert to what's called World Trade Organization terms. That's to say we have no deal, no transition. Now, that's not what the Prime Minister wants. It's not what the European Union wants. So when they say towards the end of the report, of course, things might be better, I suspect things will be better.
Anand, it may have been odd for the OECD to weigh in like this, especially politically, but to be clear, there are a lot of economists who agree with their findings that after Brexit, Britain will be worse off economically.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of professional economists are of the opinion that if we leave the single market and the customs union, it would have a negative impact on our economy, yes. And in that sense, the OECD report merely confirms what a lot of those economists have been saying. Now, forecasts are forecasts. I'm always leery of people who put numbers on things, but it does seem to me that the basic analysis, which is outside the single market and the customs union, trade with the European Union will likely fall and this will have all sorts of impacts, is probably true.
So tomorrow we go into this big council meeting, or on Thursday, all leaders coming together, Anand. They seem to be stuck at the moment. They've obviously, the British government that is, offered to cover the current budget round. That's what she offered in Florence. But in terms of the longer term payments, British government seem to be saying, look, you tell us what we're going to get and we'll tell you what we're prepared to pay.
Yeah, there is something of a standoff here, but I'd say a couple of things. One, EU negotiations always go to the wire. We're always at this stage when the EU is negotiating something saying, oh my lord, nothing's going to happen. Then sometimes, miraculously, it does. The second thing I would say is even if we don't get this green light to go ahead in October, it's not the end of the world, because now that everyone's talking transition, we know that almost certainly everything doesn't have to be wrapped up by March 2019, so the pressure is slightly off.
OK, Anand, thank you very much for joining us. Christian, after Brexit, are we going to have peace and harmony? Is everyone going to agree finally?
You reckon? I don't think so. Not if you read Twitter today.